Here is a number that might surprise you. 70% of immune function is shaped not by what you eat or how you sleep, but by how your mind relates to what it cannot control. Stress, resistance, the silent war against your own body. 3 things are quietly draining your vitality right now. Fighting what is already here, bracing against what is coming, and forgetting that this body was never meant to stay young. But here's what changes everything. When you stop resisting and come home to the body you actually have, that weight begins to lift. Today I will show you exactly how. The story I want to share with you begins on a quiet morning long ago in northern India. The trees were swaying gently in the breeze. Inside the palace walls, life went on as it always had. Flowers in bloom, laughter in the corridors, a table set with every comfort imaginable. Nothing was missing. Nothing was out of place. But on that particular day, a young man rode his horse through the palace gates for the very first time. And what he found on the other side was a world completely unlike the one he had known. The wind still blew softly. The leaves still moved. But something had shifted in the way he saw everything. After that day, he could never go back to who he had been. He returned to his cushioned rooms, sat at his familiar table, looked out at the same flowering trees, and felt for the first time that he was the stranger in the palace, not the beggar he had seen slumped by the road. The garlands had not wilted, the laughter in the corridors had not stopped, but he now heard it the way you hear music playing in a house where someone has just died. The young man's name was Siddhartha, the one the world would later know as the Buddha. He had been born into a royal family, surrounded by luxury, protected from every hardship. His father had made certain of it. There had even been a prophecy. If this child ever sees the suffering of the world, he will leave everything behind and become a wandering ascetic. And so, his father had built a kind of paradise around him. Only beautiful things, only pleasant experiences, only comfort and ease. But one spring morning, Siddhartha rode out through the eastern gate, accompanied by his attendant Chandaka. In the crowd along the road, he saw an old man. The man's back was bent, his legs trembling. He leaned on a walking stick, each step costing him enormous effort. His skin was deeply wrinkled, his eyes clouded, his teeth gone. Siddhartha pulled his horse to a stop. "What is that?" he asked. He had never seen anyone like this inside the palace walls. Chandaka answered quietly, "That is an old man. Every person grows old. You, me, all of us, one day." Siddhartha was silent for a long time. The following day he rode out through the southern gate. There he found a man lying on the ground, his body gaunt and discolored, his face contorted in pain, his moans drifting on the wind. What is that? A sick man. The body breaks down. It can happen to any of us. The next day, the western gate. A small group of people were carrying something. A body, motionless, the hands folded stiffly across the chest. The face was white and still. What is that? A dead person. Life ends, for all of us, one day. Siddhartha could not move from that spot for a long while. Old age, sickness, death, these were not distant, abstract ideas. They were his story, his body's story. He couldn't sleep that night. Then, on the 4th day, he rode out through the northern gate and met a wandering monk. The man wore simple robes and carried a begging bowl, walking slowly and steadily along the road. But what struck Siddhartha was his face. It was peaceful, not the forced calm of someone pretending. Something deeper. Old age, sickness, death, all of it was present in this man's life too, and yet he walked as though none of it was chasing him. Siddhartha approached him. "Why are you so at peace?" The monk smiled gently. "Because I am trying to see the truth of suffering, and for the one who keeps looking, eventually, something becomes clear." Those words settled quietly into Siddhartha's chest. That night he left the palace, his wife, his child, the life of ease. He walked away from all of it. Not to escape old age, sickness, and death, but to face them directly, to understand what they really were. For 6 years, he sat under trees in the forest, stood in rivers until his legs went numb, and ate so little that his ribs pressed through his skin like the fingers of a closed fist. He had heard that suffering could be defeated by suffering more, and he tried it, the way a man tries every door before accepting that none of them is the right one. But the peace he was searching for did not come through the hunger or the cold or the held breath. What Siddhartha saw beyond the palace gates, old age, sickness, death, is not so different from what we encounter today. In our own language, we might call it the body falling apart. And many of us are living with that reality right now. The exhaustion that won't lift in the morning, the headaches that keep coming back, lab results that quietly trend in the wrong direction, a body that seems to be trying to tell us something. When that happens, most of us think it's stress. And we're right, but I want to ask a question one level deeper. Why does stress break the body down? Is it because work is too demanding? Because relationships are difficult? Because money is tight? Maybe. But let's go one step further. The body doesn't wear out simply because life is full. It wears out because somewhere in the mind, a voice keeps repeating, "This should not be happening." The workload is heavy, that's a fact. But layered on top of it, "This is too much. I should be handling this better. Why is it always me?" That voice runs in the background, hour after hour, and it's that voice, not the work itself, that tightens the body like a fist that never opens. Stress is not painful because of what's happening. It's painful because of the constant friction between what is happening and what we believe should be happening instead. This is something Buddhism pointed to 2,500 years ago. Suffering has a cause, and that cause is not the event itself. It is the image we attach to events, the fixed idea of how things ought to be. The gap between that image and reality is where suffering lives, and that suffering does not stay in the mind. The body is honest. When the mind sends the signal, danger, run, fight, resist, the body responds exactly as it's designed to. Blood pressure rises, heart rate speeds up, muscles tighten, digestion slows down, the immune system is deprioritized. When this goes on for weeks, months, years, the body slowly wears down. Now here is a question worth sitting with. Are you and your body separate things? We often talk about it that way. Stress is affecting my body, as if the mind were the driver and the body just along for the ride. But is that really true? When the body is exhausted, the mind grows dark. When you can't sleep, your thinking warps. When there is physical pain, the whole world looks different. Mind and body are not two things with one affecting the other. They are moving as one, each shaping the other in every moment. When we say my mind or my body, we imagine something fixed and solid, but both are made fresh in every moment. Assembled from last night's fatigue, this morning's tension, a word someone said, what you ate, how much you slept, all of it woven together into who I am right now. There is no fixed, unchanging core beneath it all. And that, quietly, changes everything. Because if there is no fixed self that must be defended, then the voice that says, "This shouldn't be happening," loses its ground. There is no one who needs to be right about how things should have gone. A woman in one of our retreats described it this way. She had been carrying a particular worry for 3 years, and then one afternoon, sitting very still, she simply noticed that the worry was a habit, and for one moment, she didn't pick it up. Just that one moment, she said, felt like setting down something she hadn't realized she was holding. So what does this actually look like in a life? Your life, lived right now. Scene 1. Work. Imagine someone whose days are eaten by meetings, emails, and deadlines. They come home and can't stop thinking about work. Weekends don't feel like rest. The last checkup showed blood pressure climbing a little. When they get a cold, it lingers for weeks. And through all of it, a quiet voice. I should be more efficient. I can't afford to be weak. I can't let this beat me. Here is a question worth asking honestly. Is "I can't afford to be weak" actually true? Or is it a rule, one you absorb somewhere along the way, without ever choosing it? Where did that image of who you should be come from? A parent's words? Something school taught you? The way you watch others around you? That image was not there when you were born. You picked it up somewhere. Which means it is not you, not the whole of you. And when the body aches, it may simply be asking, could you set that image down for a moment? Scene 2. Aging parents, parenting, the fear of your own decline. Some people watch their parents grow old and feel their own future pressing in on them. Some are in the thick of raising children, unable to see past the exhaustion to what comes next. Some feel their own bodies slowing down and find they don't want to admit it. Siddhartha's vision of old age, sickness, and death was not an ancient fairy tale. It is happening right now, in your home, in your body, in the people you love. I shouldn't be getting older. I shouldn't be weakening. I can't let myself fall apart. That resistance creates friction. The friction becomes chronic tension. The tension quietly erodes the body. Is aging something to be fought? Or is it something already happening? Something that might simply be witnessed, without needing to be fixed? I'm not saying accept it, surrender to it, be at peace with it. Even the effort to accept something is a form of tension. I'm suggesting something smaller. Just notice the voice that says, this should not be. Notice it and set it to one side for just a moment. That alone, just that, can sometimes shift something in the body. Scene 3. The people who drain you. We all have them. The colleague whose presence makes your shoulders seize up. The conversation you leave feeling hollowed out. The relationship that keeps costing you more than it gives. This is not imagination. The body genuinely exhausts itself in these moments. When the mind is locked in, they should be different. This shouldn't be this way. Why won't they just understand? The body stays at war. The wandering monk Siddhartha met on that 4th day was calm. Not because his life was free of difficulty. Old age, sickness, and death stood before him too. He was calm because he had stopped fighting what was already here. The line between me and them is also not as solid as it feels. The tension you carry in a difficult relationship did not come from inside you alone. It was born inside that relationship, between you. It belongs to the space between you, not solely to you. Seen that way, the weight of self-blame sometimes loosens, just a little. The next time you find yourself leading one of those conversations with that familiar hollow feeling, try this. Before you reach for your phone or replay what was said, just pause for a moment and feel where the encounter has landed in your body. A tightness in the chest, perhaps. A heaviness across the shoulders. Not to fix it, just to locate it. One woman described it as finally turning on a light in a room she had been stubbing her toes in for years. So what can you actually do, starting tonight? One suggestion, just one. Listen to your body, just once, without trying to fix it. This evening, after work, after the kids are down, whenever your day finds a pause, take a few minutes. Sit somewhere comfortable. A chair, the floor, it doesn't matter. You don't need to close your eyes. Bring your attention to your body. Start anywhere. Your neck, how does it feel? Your shoulders, are they holding something? Your stomach, is it tight? Your chest, what's there? You don't need to change anything. You don't need to make it better. Just notice. There's some tension here. There's some tiredness here. When Siddhartha saw that old man on the road, he didn't rush over to cure him. He didn't look away. He simply saw. There is old age here. That seeing, that plain undefended noticing, was the beginning of everything. Your body works the same way. Not, I need to fix this. Just, there is something here, and I'm noticing it. In Buddhism, this is sometimes called right mindfulness, which sounds formal, but really means something simple. Keep noticing what is actually happening, right now. If you hear the voice that says this shouldn't be like this, notice that too. There it is again. That voice. You don't need to silence it. Just see it. I can't promise this will change everything. I can't promise your body will feel lighter tomorrow morning. But the simple act of listening to your body, instead of demanding things of it, creates a small opening in the loop of chronic tension. And sometimes through that opening, something begins to shift. That is Buddhism's quiet, modest answer. Not a dramatic shift, not an awakening, just the way a room feels different when you finally open a window you'd forgotten was there. A friend once told me she'd carried tightness in her jaw for years. One evening, she simply noticed it, not to fix it, just to see it, and found herself, without quite meaning to, sitting there with tears on her face. She didn't know why. She didn't need to. Is your body trying to tell you something right now? The stiff neck, the nights you can't sleep, the tiredness that never fully lifts. Maybe somewhere beneath it all, there is a voice insisting, This is not how it should be. Could you, just once, just today, turn toward that voice instead of away from it? Not to answer it, not to argue with it, just to hear it. A monk once spent 3 years trying to silence the sound of a leaking roof, stuffing cloth into cracks, rearranging his sleeping mat, reciting sutras louder. On the 4th year, he finally sat still and simply listened. By morning, he had found the source. The ground beneath today's teaching, how the body carries what the mind holds, was explored in a previous episode on the Buddhist understanding of illness and physical suffering. You'll find the link waiting in the description below. From the day Siddhartha rode beyond the palace gates, he could never return to who he had been. Not because what he saw destroyed him, but because he had seen something true. Old age, sickness, death. He looked at all of it directly. And that was not the beginning of despair. It was the beginning of seeing clearly. When the body is tired, when it begins to break down, that is not a sign that something has gone wrong. It may simply be the body telling the truth, honestly, plainly, the way bodies do. Every day we are ground down by the gap between what is and what we believe should be. That grinding is not only in the mind, it lives in blood vessels, in the immune system, in the quality of sleep. But that wandering monk walked the road with quiet eyes. Old age, sickness, death, all of it present in his life, and yet he was not being chased. He had not eliminated suffering. He had changed his relationship to it. Whatever your body is carrying today, it is quietly offering you a question. You don't have to answer it. You don't have to solve it. Just knowing the question is there, just hearing it, can be enough to set something in motion. Thank you for spending this time here with me today. A man once came to sit with his teacher, his hands shaking, his breath short, frightened by what the doctors had told him. The teacher poured tea, said nothing for a long while, and then simply asked, "Is the tea warm?" The man nodded. "Then you are still here," the teacher said, "and so is the question." Whose face came to mind while you were listening today? One story a day. In a week, your words will change. In a month, your eyes will change. In a year, the same world will look completely different.